Good afternoon, everyone. This is Nick with Pulseway, and once again, thank you for coming in for attending the webinar for the Pulseway RMM solution. We're going to start in a couple of minutes, just waiting on a couple of people to join in so that we can showcase our RMM products. So for the attendees who have already come in, I would like to give it a start a couple of seconds here and show you the quick agenda that we are going to discuss about the product. Very excited to show you Pulseway's most portable ID management platform and a lot of features coming on the way. All right, let's get started. I think we have all the audience we were expecting. So, gentlemen, ladies, to start with, this is going to be our agenda today. We are going to talk about how we can actually go ahead and I can introduce you to Pulseway being the world's most portable NOC. We've been serving about more than 4,000 customers globally, about 100,000 devices every day, giving out alerts to a customer, helping them understand what their systems are doing, what's the status, and so on. So as we move forward, on the product side, I'm going to demonstrate how you can actually go ahead and set up and deploy Beach for your customers, Beach for your internal organization, right? Then I'm going to walk you through with our mobile app, which is our, one of the great features, because Pulseway in the market was the first mobile app RMM solution, wherein we were the first one to introduce it. And in the same footsteps, we saw others doing it. But what edge we have over the others is something I'm going to show you, and the richness of the experience of the app is something what makes us different. Then we're going to talk about agent configuration. This is by setting up your baselines for the servers, for the workstations, what's the best practice, what applies to the servers more versus less, and the notification configuration. Then I'm going to walk you through with our web app. So this is the place where you'll spend 80% of your time while troubleshooting issues, looking at the status, doing automation, doing the antivirus is something that we have just added a couple of months back. So in a single pane of glass experience, that it will bring to you is something I'm going to demonstrate. Then we're going to talk about the branding portion. So for those who are running a business, or for that matter, even the internal organizations, how they can actually put up their own logo to actually go ahead and customize Pulseway. That's one. Then we'll discuss about the automation. That would be the next criteria to actually understand and show you that how the automation module can bring power. Very exciting, very innovative in its own sense. Those routine tasks that you do for your customers, for your environments, how you can automate them. I'm going to show you an example as well. Then we're going to talk about reporting. So reporting being important, I'll show you how you can actually go ahead, use those reports and pull the data out, understand what the system is trying to tell you at a holistic view, from 50,000 high as a high point, and then we'll roll down to the lower side of the reports as well. And when it comes to having multiple users, because it could be either one person doing the all, or multiple people being in part of the system trying to manage the servers and workstations, is something I'm going to show you that how you can do with Pulseway. Then last but not the least, we're going to discuss about the desktop dashboard. That's the MSI package that you install on your management computer or management station from where you manage the customers and the endpoints globally, right? And then the remote desktop, which is our own proprietary feature that I'm going to showcase. So with this, let's get started. And even before I jump onto the product, I would like to take a step back and tell you that where we started, what we are. So Pulseway as a company, we were formed back in 2011, right? And we had a vision of helping the system admins and the MSPs become IT heroes who do the system management for businesses, ranging from as low as to systems, right? So at that point in time, looking at the scenario, they're understanding the market need. Our CEO understood that there needs to be something that should be able to help the system administrators stay on top of systems on a click of a button, be it their desk, be it their mobile or something. That's where Pulseway started. So as a free app, we came up in the market, got reviews, got feedback, and we understood the dynamics of the market and actually evolved it as a product over time. But we had a vision then. So the feedback is what made us, from a freebie to a product. So we still believe in that and we are improvising a product every day by listening to our users, to the feedback that they give us. When I talk about this solution, the Pulseway RMM solution is the world's most portable IT management platform. So those routine tasks, what an admin would do, what a consultant would do, or a tech would do, something that you were predicting by actually remoting into the computer. The strategy now, the scene now is actually to go over and sit on the systems, use the agent, and interact using a platform which is central, single pane of glass, mobile, be it your app, be it your desktop, anywhere. So to make it available anywhere, making it easy, irrespective where the systems are located, is what the power this solution gives you. In terms of when it comes to some of the features, not maybe full blown, which I'm definitely going to show you in the next 30 minutes or so, it's going to be real-time monitoring, right? It's going to be always stay in control kind of thing, wherein you understand that what are the tasks that you can automate, what are the reports you can run even from a phone. So for those people who are walk and talk guys or who lead a team but want to stay top of things because of the parallel engagement, it's one thing that fits in for all who wants to stay on top of the systems, help their customers, help their employees at the fastest possible, and there are a lot of options that I'm going to explore now. So moving on, for those who have signed up for a trial, what they can do is they can actually go ahead and open up the Pulseway app that they will have registered for. So it would be their company name.pulseway.com that would get. So the first thing we do is we go ahead and log in with a credential set. And as you log in on the Pulseway web app, what you see is this is an HTML5 based web app that will come up on your screen. Very simple, very intuitive, very easy to understand. You don't need some kind of specialized training, or some kind of, I would say, understanding of deep dive IT systems to work on it. All what you need is a computer with a browser on it or a mobile app, application, and get your systems on. So once you get in here, your journey would begin here, which would be set up. You will be clicking on downloads, right? And these are the agents which are available. So this is the package that you can install on all the machines that you have, irrespective, their workstations, their servers, their Windows, their non-Windows. So let's go deep dive and understand that what all platforms Pulseway can help you with. We support Windows, we support Debian, we support Raspberry Pi, which are the small little boxes which can be used as display projections and stuff. That's what we support. And then we also support the CentOS, the Linux family. We support OpenSUSE, and we also support Mac. So at a holistic view, as a team, as a tech, or as an owner of a business, as you see, the coverage in terms of the diversity is what makes Pulseway different from others. So assuming the fact that if this was your choice of platform, Windows, that's the one I'm going to use for the demonstration here. You would first go ahead and download this agent on the computer, the first computer from where you're going to go ahead and set up your baselines, and you will install this agent. So once this is done, it will appear something like this that I have on my workstation here. So this is the agent. So once this agent is installed, during the installation itself, it's actually going to ask you for the credentials like this. And we'll have to put in the dedicated server instance like this and define a group name, which is nothing but a classification. Now, the good practice, the best practice is like a structure that you're trying to build for the group of systems that you have, right? So the first thing that we have in a group name could be either a department in case of internal IT organizations, for customers, for MSPs who are managing their customers, multiple customers under the same instance, right? They can put in a customer name and servers, or customer name and workstations. Now, the fundamental behind this is that Pulseway, when you actually go ahead and apply the baseline configurations as settings, every group will have its own policy. Now, knowing the nature of servers, knowing the nature of workstations, if you differentiate them in terms of groups, it's easier to define the policy, and you don't have to fiddle around much raising exceptions for particular settings. So once this is done, you can actually go ahead, define all the settings, what are those services. Now keep that in mind. The first agent that you're defining is your baseline. So it means, is it 100% of the notifications that you are about to set on the computer? Probably not. It's going to be 60% of those common settings that you would like to be enabled on a group of servers or a group of workstations you're planning your deployment on. Right? So we go ahead, and as you see, I've selected some options from notification, from process, from services, and I'm going to go deep down, when we walk over to the agent configuration section, right? And that's going to be one. So let's say this was ready and I hit OK. So the next thing I would be doing is coming back in here and then clicking on the mass deployment option, which can also be, I would say driven through with systems and then discovery and deployment. That's one. Under the discovery and deployment, you can actually click on add probes and add this computer as a probe, which is nothing but a master agent who will do the scan and discovery of the entire environment and understand what the topology of the network is. So as you see in the workstation side, I have already added that by clicking on add probes, and I have a new machine that I can always add. So if I were to add that desktop, or for that matter any other computer, I would have just clicked and it would have been added. Now if you see, this computer would automatically scan all the computers around it that it sees in the network. Now this will work as discovery in a VLAN. It will work in a same subnet, broadcast domain, and it will also work in like the same CIDR. So it's pretty convenient. So in real life scenarios, if you have an office of a customer or your own organization, what it's going to be is that it's going to be the one that you actually go ahead with, and within one network, one environment, you are actually going to go ahead and scan and see all the systems irrespective of the subnets, as long as the ping is allowed. That's the only thing that what it needs. So as you see, I've actually discovered a couple of systems here with their different IP addresses. I can select these systems here and click on start deployment to do a mass deployment, and also tell the deployer that go ahead and pick up those baseline or those master settings from this computer. Now you can always have multiple probes basis what customer or what department are you doing. So let me cite an example. In case of MSPs who sell services on the base of SLA, like gold, silver, platinum for that matter, or internal organizations who have like staging servers, development servers, and production servers, they can define one baseline on one agent for each, and then whatever group are they deploying on, they can select accordingly. So my assumption here is that I'm actually deploying a couple of workstations here. So I've set up the deployment template for the workstation here. I'm selecting that. I put in my group name, basis the classification. Again, the classification is best done when it's done on the basis of nature of systems, or by location or by customer. These are like, but keeping that in mind, that if you want to do monitoring for a group of systems in a similar fashion, that's how you should group them. That's the fundamental behind it. So I would be putting in my credentials here, which would be my local remote username password, or if you have a domain environment, I'll put in my service credentials here and click on start deployment. The moment I click on start deployment, this machine will try to ping all the others and queue a deployment on the local machines. Now this will first download the agent, deploy the agent, install the agent, and once it is installed, what it's going to do is it's going to import those configurations from that master computer and replicate them. So to give you a realistic answer, as low as 10 minutes to 15 minutes of time is what we have found to actually deploy up to 100 systems, assuming the fact that all the prerequisites are in place. So that's fast and easy it is. Now once this is done, you will see the deployment being complete. What you would see is when you click on systems, all the systems would appear like this. You can actually see the servers being in the server group, the workstations being in the server workstations group, and everything will be in place. Now moving ahead, so we are through with the part when we have actually discovered our network. I have deployed the agents, the settings are on. Let's move ahead and see what value does it bring in. What are those options that it actually brings in here? So assuming the fact that, let's say if this was the workstation of a user, that I wanted to manage with Pulseway, you can actually see the real-time CPU usage, what's happening on the computer, what's happening on the memory, right? You can get down there and do command prompt and PowerShell. Real time, you can write commands as if you were sitting in front of the computer and doing stuff like ipconfig and other commands. And for that matter, any command that you can run on command prompt to troubleshoot. So once this is done, the next thing that I would like to show you is, apart from the command prompt, you can remotely manage the services. You can remotely kill the processes, right? If in case you want to start a process, kill a process, you typically have to go into the computer, open up the taskbar, and then kill a process or something. Now, keep that in mind. Traditionally, if you were to connect remotely to a customer or to a IT environment, you have to first dial into VPN. You have to first log in and have those credentials and then those, expensive firewalls in place to have you that access. And then, there's a possibility of 99% success only, because in those 1% chances, you might not even connect to the VPN because of any other issues and may lose connectivity. On the contrast, since Pulseway works using the internet connectivity, any machine that you install the agent on, as long as 443 is open, right, and you're able to communicate in and out on 443 with internet connectivity stable, Pulseway can do pretty much everything for you. You don't need any kind of IPsec, any VPN action. So all what you do is log into either your mobile app or your web app, right, and do the stuff from here like I show you. Now, just to give you a good example here. So let's say if this was the computer I wanted to manage a process on, or I wanted to kill some exe which I found that was actually causing a trouble on the computer. So what I can actually do is I can actually open up a notepad to show you and go back to this computer as you see, search for the process, which is notepad. And as you see, real time, it's coming all over the internet. I can kill the process. The moment I do that, the process has been killed in the background already. Now, this is from a perspective of a web app. Wouldn't that be exciting if I show you that you can always do the same thing mobile app as well? So in case of mobile app, we have supported platforms like iOS. We have supported platforms like Android, and it works pretty well either on the tablets or on the mobile itself. So this is one of the mobile app interface that I have, right? Where what you can do is you can actually go ahead and see similar experience, similar features is what I have on the mobile app here, right? I can go ahead and scroll it down and see a lot of options. I can do the same thing. Now, if I were to replicate, let me show you that again. I can actually again go ahead and open up the notepad, and assuming the fact that I'm actually an admin who's trying to kill the process, right? I can do it from here. I'll go to that computer, look at the processes, and as you see, I'm going to kill the command prompt itself. It's gone. Easy. Very exciting, very powerful, no drama, no stress. Assume it in your real life. You sitting back on a weekend, getting an alert on your mobile app for any kind of notification that you see on a server. You log into your mobile app or your web app, right? Look into a problem and understand. Now keep that in mind. Just to show you, as you see, that this computer just popped up with a notification. I'm experiencing this alert on my mobile app, so I can see what happened. It says there was an update. So going forward, what would be my next approach? Probably click here, click on that computer, scroll it down, and start the patching, something of this sort. Now let's go deep dive, and let me quickly show you, apart from the command prompt and apart from the other stuff, what all Pulseway can offer you from that single pane of glass. So once you click on a workstation or a server, you can do CPU, you can do memory monitoring, you can do hardware monitoring, you can do network monitoring. So in case of bandwidth issues on a particular server, on a group of servers or particular machine, you can click and see the real-time spike if in case there is any on that computer. That's one. And going back, these are the options that you get in there to see the hard drive, which is something like an explorer to see what file is sitting where. That's one. So going back to this, the next thing I would like to show you is if you have locally attached printers on that system itself, you can manage those. You can actually print the managed job. You can do the spooler service check and everything of that sort is possible with Pulseway. Not only that, going down in there, the major powerful features that you see, something like locking the computer, restarting the computer are pretty standard, but you can always do patching. You can see the security status of the file and uninstall the applications which are there on that computer. And the AV portion, as you see, is only when it comes that if I had the Kaspersky AV powered, agent that we offer as an add-on to the RMM. If you have that installed, you can manage it for individual systems or a group of systems from here. So just to give you a quick glance, I mean, though I'm going to cover the AV deep dive, if I were to scan this computer, getting an alert that there was some issue, I could have just used my mobile app or web app and click on Start Scan like this. In real time, if I'll go to that workstation, open up the Kaspersky agent, you will see the scan action has started already. So with this, the next thing I would like to walk about or talk about is the agent configuration itself. So in terms of the agent configuration, there are a lot of options that I would like to show you. Now the agent that we have is common for the workstations and server, bases the functionality and license, what it actually differentiates itself. So those server modules that we have, you may be able to see them, but they'll never get enabled because of the license constraint. That's one. And secondly, all those server modules that I'm going to talk about now, well, typically can only go on a Windows server. So workstations, if you were to do workstations, you could have picked up notifications, something like this. So the first thing you do is you go to accounts, put in your credentials, clicking on systems and select these options here. Now, if you were to actually use screens view option, wherein you can view the screen like a screenshot, or if you want the users to chat with you while you're troubleshooting, please select these options. These are very useful options. And I'm going to demonstrate that how a technician can always chat using the web app or a mobile app if he gets a notification about a desktop and the user is seeking support. Then you can select services that you would like to monitor. You can select network. You can enable the remote desktop feature, which is a proprietary feature, and it's part and parcel of the product itself. There's no additional cost for it. In the notification section, you can define what all notifications you would like to get. So a good one is that for those who are actually sensitive about data security, they can select that send a notification when a removable disk is inserted or removed. So that way, if somebody's trying to pick out data or punch in data into the computer, you're notified and you know that that computer user needs to be checked before moving on. Then you can do performance for CPU and memory monitoring. And the selected services that you want to monitor are available here, and you would be able to stop them remotely from the web app and mobile app if anything happens on these services. Processes. Any business critical applications or client end applications like Outlook, third-party client application to connect to a CRM application is something what you can monitor here. That's and then you can go ahead and click on storage and define if you want to get an alert if in case there is a space constraint. That's one. You can see event logs that you can monitor. If there are any specific events that you would like to monitor and understand that what's happening on the computer, if in case there is a specific issue or specific event ID that comes, right, you can monitor that. I'm going to demonstrate that on the server side, which I have a couple of them set up here. That's a domain controller. So these are all the features. So once you set them up and hit OK, this covers the agent configuration of the workstation. Now let's go deep dive on the server. So for my demonstration in my lab here, I have a domain controller that I'm picking up. Now in the domain controller, I can actually show you that you can go ahead and specify the same set of settings that you have. Now keep that in mind. Since you'll be deploying the agent on a group of machines, you don't have to do that on every machine individually. There are a lot of ways that you can actually manage all this from a central place. So let me show you what that option is. So if you were to actually manage everything from here, any computer for that matter that has the Pulseway agent on, you can click on Manage Systems and see the groups that you have defined. So that's why grouping is kind of important. So in my case, if I was to enable some settings on the group, I can click on that group first and then click on Manage Group Policies and define what all standard settings I want to keep consistent across all the computers which fall in that group. So I would say rather go ahead and click on these settings and go ahead and monitor these. So the next thing that we do is once we select these, as you see, I'm generalizing them. Now, a quick to understand, something like this, which is default, means it is respecting the local settings. If I go ahead and disable it completely, irrespective of the local settings, it will be disabled. And something like this will forcingly enable and override any other settings. So I'm checking all this with screen view enabled, user chat enabled, and other features as well. Then I can go to network settings and select what gateway I want to ping. And in the notification section, since this is for servers, I might want to put this option because that's kind of important to give me a notification if the servers are offline, but definitely not for the workstation. So that's where the use case of group policy comes in play. I'll click on apply and then click on close. Now keep that in mind. In real life, you may have multiple policies, right? So you don't have to do the same job on the same every policy. You can select a policy, export the policy, and import the same policy if that's your baseline standard for the other customers as well. So once we have this defined, we click on close, right? And we click on reload for a couple of times so that in about 30 seconds of time, it resyncs all with all the agents installed in that group and put them in effect. Now, apart from that, as like I said, this is the baseline, the 60%, the 20% or the 30% that you have is something what you define individually. So those settings, let's talk about those which you cannot do from the policy that you have to generalize them one by one. So if I go ahead and if I have to do some hardware monitoring, the suggested practice is to go ahead and put that on a specific computer like CPU temperature, memory temperature, something of that sort. Those are minimal. Then the next that we have is, if we go ahead, in the system section is the network. So the network enabled option is not generalized. You can actually go ahead either machine by machine or use the Pulseway Dashboard from a single pane of glass by doing right-click edit computer settings and editing them together. Now, once these are done, once you have your servers configured, we achieve 60% common settings using the policy, right? Or the first baseline that we set, then the 20% like this way, and the rest is something that I can actually go ahead and then click on server modules and enable specifics. Now, this is one way of doing by remoting into the machine, or if I was actually managing a domain controller which was remotely located, I could have opened my Pulseway dashboard like this, right-click on the domain controller, edit computer settings. Assuming that the baselines are set up, it's just a matter of configuration of the Active Directory agent and the other servers like Exchange, SQL, and so on and so forth. So if I select the domain controller here, this is the view that I get. And I'm doing that remotely. This dashboard is, again, on a WAN base. It's not limited to the LAN scope. You can manage any computer from anywhere as long as it has internet access. I go to server modules and click on Manage Active Directory and enable it. Now, similarly, on the server side, once your baselines are ready, your common functionality or, I would say notifications are ready, Exchange, VMware, Hyper-V, IaaS, whatever servers you've got, you can actually go ahead and enable these modules one by one. So let's talk a little bit, what it does and what kind of support we have. So we support Exchange 2007, 13, and so on. 16 is also supported, right? So that's something is still coming up in the update that we're releasing, but a lot of our customers have come back and told us that they're using on 16. Hyper-V, you can manage the Hyper-V hosts and also the VMs on them. So goes for the VMware. Very exciting case for VMware because VMware becoming the de facto when it comes to the platform settings, right? You can start-stop VMs, you can monitor the host, right? These are the basic settings that you can get. And if you install the agent inside the VM as well on the operating system, you can always monitor all these settings as well and get a better insight to what's happening inside the guest operating system and what's happening at the platform level. That's on the on-prem. We have integrations with Shadowcraft Storage Protect and then ESET if in case that's your AV that you're already using. Moving on, we have availability on the Amazon side as well. So on public cloud, if you're doing Amazon, if you're doing Windows Azure, we do support that. Now, this is from the perspective of compute layer, wherein this is giving you coverage on the operating system. It is giving you the understanding and visibility to the core OS services like services, processes, memory utilization, anything happening on the file system. On top of that, it's adding a value by going deep down into the application as well on the server side, right? Now, at the same time, wouldn't that be nice if Pulseway could actually monitor your hardware as well? So for that, you can dedicate one management machine, enable the SNMP management, and those Dell, HP, IBMs, and now Cisco systems as well coming in. They all support SNMP-based monitoring, wherein you can actually set them to send out traps. Pulseway can collect them and send out notifications to you if some conditions met. So that way, it becomes hardware, operating system, and application on the top with the full coverage to get everything going, right? So with this is going to be the end of the agent configuration. Let's move back to the web app, and let me show you the next exciting feature that I would like to talk about. So in here, as you see, as we are operating machines, we are doing different kind of stuff. We are getting alerts on the computer. Now, there are three ways that you get the alerts. You get a notification in the form of email. On the phone, you get it as a push notification. And on web app, if you are troubleshooting, you can go to notifications and see all the notifications which are there in the system. As you see, high CPU usage, a threat detected, and so on and so forth is something what it is logged. Now, at the same time, if you go ahead and then click on systems and enable any kind of server roles, you don't have to worry about knowing the system. The system is capable enough to segregate the system by the server function or role that you have installed on them. So with this, we covered up pretty much the system section. Let's move to the next section, which is one of my most, I would say, favorable, my section that I have interest in the most and I like the most, right, which is the automation section. Now with automation section, we support scripting, which can be for Windows and Linux platforms both. We support Windows scripting in case of PowerShell, Batch, and VB. And we support scripting for Linux. Now keep that in mind that we do support Linux systems. So a system who can do Windows and Linux both and can support automation for both is definitely a one-stop shop for any kind of automation task that you want to run. Now, a good example to show you. Today, if you look at it at the kind of dealing that you do in terms of system management, you typically have been remoting in and fixing issues. Now the approach has changed a bit with the RMM in place. If you see here, if you go to systems, right, 80% of the troubleshooting that you would like to do on a computer on a regular basis could be either related to services, processes, right? It could be either to do with event logs, terminal, PowerShell, something scripts, and so on and so forth. Understanding what's running on the computer, what's the hardware issue, it's doable from here. For only those 20% of the issues remaining, where you see that yes, there is a dire need to actually get into the computer, is where you should get and go ahead and use the Pulseway Dashboard and go ahead and remote in using this option and connect to the computer and work on it. Now, if that was the case, traditionally we've been writing scripts on every computer, copying, pasting them, putting them in the scheduler, right, waiting for them to run, and then setting up email notifications individually on those, right? But now with Pulseway, this is the advantage that you get. So to show you, I have a quick task that I've set up. If I click on go ahead and check on updates, traditionally clicking on check updates was doing only one thing, was checking for updates. But there's a lot of intelligence in and around when you actually plan updates, which is cleaning up the temp, cleaning up the browser cache, right, and showing that if in case patches fail, you should get a notification somehow, or you should know. I'm assuming the fact that if you were a tech or if you are an MSP doing this for a customer for about 500 computers, it will really become problematic to understand what went wrong. Now, in case of Pulseway, what value it brings in is those steps that you think in your head in terms of order, what you would have done manually, you can actually go ahead and align those scripts falling in one after the other like a domino effect. So if I were just to patch system, I would have definitely done this by clicking on first, cleaning up the temp files for the computer, clearing up the browser cache, the DNS cache to make sure there's no connectivity issue, then create a restore point and then check for the updates. Pretty intelligent, pretty neat, and that's what the power it gets, right? You go ahead and put all these scripts in order. One falls after the other. So all the computers that you're going to run this task on, you can go ahead and define these order and click on overview, select the scope. Now, one thing to mention, a scope is nothing but a group of systems that you can define based on the group and the type of systems or a custom group name. So once you have it in place, you click on save. You can go ahead and run the task. So if I were to go ahead and run this task, I can actually go ahead and view the task as well by going down. And you see it's scheduling the task now on all those servers. Moving forward, so once this is done, with automation, with all kind of features in system, the scripts that you write yourself or which are built into the computer, because we have about 20 built-in scripts that we have available, you can scroll it down and run these scripts manually as well. So if I were to go ahead and use the script here on this computer, I can go in here, scroll it down, go to the scripts, select the script that I've written, and run it. Now, this is a shutdown script that I would definitely not like to run, but I can go ahead and, let's say, clear the temp files. That's something I can do, and click on run. So the moment I run it, it's individually dealing with the SIG. Very useful in case when you have multiple staff and you want to perform standardized troubleshooting before it goes to the next level of technicians or to the next level of support to look into the issue. Those are those particular use cases that it can come in very handy. Now, when I said about teams, there's one thing I would like to show you in the server admin section, which is adding multiple user accounts. So the default account that you will get would be the administrator account, which is the super admin account that should be used for all installations. Anybody else in the team should be defined as a user in here. So as you see, I've been defined as a user in here, and either I can be an administrator or a read-only administrator in the system. In here, you can enable or disable two-step authentication for security, audit logging, what the user is doing that I'm going to show you, and also if the user is supposed to get email notifications or not supposed to get email notifications. Now, one thing that comes in mind is that how do I delegate systems or maybe a group of systems? So under the administrator account, you should always do all the delegation. Come in here, add an account like this, select that account that you want to do. So let's say I wanted to go ahead and delegate some systems to my colleague here. I can select that what is the level of access that I can do, monitor only, manage only. So basis what I select, it will restrict the feature. So to give you a fair glance, if I'll do monitor only, the person might not be able to do a command prompt there, but he can still see what are the processes and all, but not perform any option. If I go manage, it will be full-fledged, and it's optional to receive notifications, something of that sort. So real life example, a lot of MSPs who run the business have a team of 10. They don't get the notification out to the techs because it's going to be a lot of notifications, but keep them marked to a support or a common address that they keep an eye on and ensure that when those events happen, somebody's addressing them. So once that is done, you can click on save. And as you see, the user has been added and given access to that. In terms of logging, when you have multiple people working on the same system, Pulseway keeps irrespective, whatever logs, whatever actions they do, right? They actually go ahead and as you see, all these tasks are being logged and everybody can see what happened there. That's one. Then moving on, you can actually see the notifications as well as I showed you before. One thing to show you, which is pretty exciting, all these events, if you were to tomorrow see them as tickets and manage them in our ticketing system, you can go to PSA and select all this. So automatically, if you're doing a managed service, like month-to-month basis service for a customer, right? And if you're in an internal organization that you want all these alerts to be converted into ticket to keep the SLA management and make sure the upkeep is right, automatically these will get converted into tickets. How, what do we do, how do we manage is something I would be demonstrating that starting 1 p.m. Eastern today in the next webinar. So those interested can write an email to support@pulseway.com or those respective product specialists that you're working with so that they can send you the invite and get you added there. So Moving on, in terms of reporting, let's look at what we can do on the reporting. So we pretty much covered on the server admin side, the system side, the automation side. This looks pretty exciting, but no good if I cannot produce facts and figures in black and white on a piece of paper and show the management, the customer, for what it will actually look like from a technology like this. So executive summary is one of the good reports that I feel most of the people should have a look at once you onboard. When you have all the systems on Pulse, if you get some kind of intelligence to show you that where the environment stands, what kind of effort it would actually need to bring it up to the scale, is a very good use case for business owners to understand an environment and do some kind of health check or assessment. So to show you, this is the level of reporting that we get. If I were to go ahead and open up this report, on a scale of 100, it will tell you that how many system areas are in red, which are in green, or what should be your approach. So just by looking at this report, if you present it to a customer or for that matter your manager, you know that what are the areas that need effort on, what kind of timelines you can estimate, or if you're an MSP, what it would take you to bring the environment to 85 as an optimal, as you've experienced before, that at 85 things look good, and it justifies the effort that you need to put in a monthly service versus those 6 or 7 calls what a customer thinks is all what you do for them, right? So this will give you a lot of answers. Apart from that, the templates can always be scheduled. As you see, they can be run on a group of systems or a particular system, and you can always clone them if in case the need is to actually run and save them for specific systems. I can click on edit, scroll it down, as you see, I can schedule them. In legacy reports, these are pretty static reports. You can see uptime, you can see the IPv4 addresses of all the computers if you're doing some kind of network troubleshooting. You can do a 7-day uptime or a 90-day uptime. So to understand if you have an SLA or if you have a guarantee, if you're a data center, trying to certify for some kind of tier or tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, to understand what's your uptime, this software can help you do that. It can also help you with asset information. It can also help you with Windows updates reporting in terms of what happened, which patch is through and which is not. For that, you can actually go ahead and email it to yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and email this report to myself and get this in the form of a PDF. Now, all the reports that we generate, that we send out, are in the form of PDF files. From there on, you can actually go ahead and convert them into any format that you want. So that's how it is. Now, the last and the most critical section, endpoint security. With the way security business is booming in the market, with ransomwares and all this new stuff coming into the market, hitting the end users and the customers, and the environments, putting them on an edge that if security is avoided, we can be at risk. It makes sense to have some kind of solution that gives you complete control, making it end-to-end. So with system management in place, with that thought, we have introduced antivirus in a product which is powered by Kaspersky in the background. But the front-end engineering in terms of deployment, in terms of making it simple, and available on the mobile, is something which is the Pulseway part that we have done here. So as you see, I have all the computers with a agent installed on it. Now the only thing that I do is once I have my RMM agent installed on a computer, I can actually go ahead and see them that they will show status as not installed. But when I go and click on them here and say install, is when I can install the agent quickly. No license management, no email, funda, no invoice tracking kind of thing. It comes as a delivered service to you with all the features and benefits, right? So that's the difference. It brings it to you over and above the traditional Kaspersky. But keep that in mind, since the intelligence is Kaspersky, it does everything, but the added value is what it makes it easy. So to manage AV, you don't have to go to another tab or a window and see stuff there. And you can have as many customers as you want. So if I were to actually go ahead and segregate customers, and 2 customers wanted AV and 1 not, I can go ahead and segregate them and install the AV accordingly. That's one. Then first and the most thing, we're pushing the AV, we have to define policies. And again, the logic here goes by staging servers or Windows workstations like I have placed in place. And it can be subjected to your customer. It can be subjected to the nature of systems that you're putting in. Now let's go deep dive, and then I'll leave the table open for any kind of questions that you may have, and I'll be happy to answer them. That what features this AV provides you. So this AB will actually go ahead and give you these options, wherein there are specific modules which can be common for servers and workstations, or in case of workstations, we have gone even a step ahead and maintained specific features like mail antivirus, which is for mail clients, web antivirus, which is for anything to do with web activity, instant messaging antivirus. So something like incoming messages on Skype and stuff, trying to do that. Then it has a network attack blocker, wherein it can understand that if in case there is a TCP flood or a SYN flood or some virus trying to do network activity, it will block that machine right away and block the outbound connections. System Watcher. This is the one that is adding a value here. The System Watcher is actually an intelligent, or I would say an automated intelligence feature, wherein what it does is it acts on the ransomware and other unknown things or unknown features that have come up in the market in terms of which appear like legitimate softwares but do something, I would say, unethical on the system. So it can monitor those activities and roll back their actions. In case of scheduling, you can actually go ahead and schedule what kind of areas that you want. Now, one thing very critical is that in the AV section, if you go to general and do scan exclusions, if you have any specific applications that you run on servers like Exchange, SQL, that you know are trusted applications, or for that matter, you know the drivers on the computer, you don't have to rapidly go ahead and kill the CPU usage. You can go ahead and click on AV protection, go to the scan exclusions as you see, and exclude those paths there. That's something you can do. In trusted application, as you see, I've actually added an application there. It can be for third-party remoting applications and other stuff that you can do. And UI settings, if you're doing a lot of end users, you can actually hide these settings and ensure that users don't play around with it. But last but not the least, does it give you the notification? Yes, it does. It gives you the notifications on your mobile. It does give you the notification on your email, something like this. And at the same time, it actually captures the event. As you see, I have an active thread on one other computer. So I literally don't have to go on that computer. I can just go ahead and say delete and confirm the file. Now, since I have done that on the desktop, let me show you that if this file was really useful, and since I've deleted it, do I have an option to actually go ahead and get it? Yes, you do. You can actually go ahead and production into the module, right? Open up all these events that you see in here. And in here, in the AV, in the quarantine section, here is where you get the files which are quarantined. And if in case some files have been deleted, you can restore them from here. Or at the same time, I can come back in here and say, restore my file. Or maybe go ahead and exclude from the scan or rescan the file. So as you see, real time, it can scan the active threats. While I was demoing the solution to you, it did a scan, it found a threat, and it's there on the computer. I can come back in here, go ahead and delete. But gentlemen, ladies, keep that in mind. There are tons and tons of features. There are more than 300 features, tiny bits here and there that I can talk and show you. But in the constraint of time, I cannot show you all these in a single 1 hour session. So for those who have a real use case for their own environments, right, they can actually go ahead and schedule a one-to-one session with us, and I'll be more than happy to answer. But for the consensus and being so patient and good audience, I would like to conclude this session here and leave the table open for any kind of questions you may have about the product. Once again, this is Nick with Pulseway. You've been a great audience. So any questions you may have for any particular feature, any particular use case that comes to your mind is something what you can post in the question box, and we'll go ahead and answer these questions for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, any more questions? Any questions on features, pricing, licensing you may have? Perfect. So I have a question from Jonathan, and it says, is there any patch management or it's just script to check the patch? Well, there is. There are three ways we address the patching. If you go to systems and select the system as you see on my screen, on-demand patching can be dealt from here. That's one. Then if you want to go ahead and manage a group of systems to do an on-demand patching, you can go to the groups, select the groups, and click on Windows Updates and update them together. Over and above, if you want to schedule, you can go to the automation module and check the scripts there. So the script which is checking the updates, if you want to add your own parameters, that's modifiable. You can go ahead and make the changes and run the script. We are bringing up a third-party patching module and the Windows patching module in the next quarter, which is going to be there in the product, which is going to be an add-on, right? But for now, these are the options that we have. And if in case you're looking some kind of patching on third-party tools, you can use 99 Pro as an integration that comes along and works well with Pulseway to do that. So the next question I have is from David, which is the AV included in price? The AV is over and above the price of the RMM. So basis what plan you pick on the RMM, which is the remote monitoring and management, the AV is priced at $1 for a workstation per month and $2 for a server per month. So the next question is, can you exclude specific Windows patches? Yes, you can. If you go to specific systems to patch them and then click on that computer, right, and you go to Windows patching, and when the time comes for installation, you can specifically pick what patches you want to actually install on the computer. So when I click on install updates, I can select what patches I want to pick, as you see, versus the critical, the optional, or if not. Jonathan, does that answer your question? Link. Okay. Link, does that answer your question? Alrighty. So the next question I have is from Steven, is how do you pre-add groups? So group is a dynamically valid, managed value. So the only way that you can actually define a specific value of a group is either on the agent, or we have a scripting module, where is a script that provide you. If you were to actually change it, go ahead and do it on a group of systems. Okay. The next question I have is, can we exclude a group of computer or just one by one? For now, the exclusion is possible one by one. If you have specific string IDs for those patches which are available on the Microsoft side, you can write your own script based on what you want to do, based on the testing that you do on patching, and automate them. But the full-fledged thing, like if you're comparing it with WSUS, when you can pick what you want and push as a feature, is on its way. Okay, so Link, the question is there a minimum monthly charge? Basis the plan, we have multiple plans available. Basis the use case, if you're an MSP, if you're an organization, is what it is. So we don't charge any kind of base setup fee or something. The only thing that we have a minimum is the number of systems basis the plan. So on the MSP edition, it's about 25 systems, which is with a monthly payment option as well. The team edition is for the enterprises, by the internal organizations, which is about at this price. And I can go ahead and select the plan that I want. But the team edition is billed annually. The MSP edition is billed month to month. Yep. So David, you can go ahead to pulseway.com/pricing. We don't hide pricing. It's a publicly listed pricing that we have for all the products that we offer. Sure, no problem, Link. Alrighty, one last chance before we go ahead and wrap this up, and I'm sure that if somebody would like to see any kind of ticketing, and just to give you a glance, I may not be able to go deep dive, but to show you what I'm going to showcase is this. So if you're interested, please let us know. Write it to support@pulseway.com. We can send you the link for the invitation. And for those who have time constraints, if you're interested in the product to do ticketing, customer management, invoicing, projects, and so on and so forth, we can send you the recorded video as well. All right, gentlemen. Well, thanks for coming in. You've been a lovely audience, and I thank you all for these questions, and I hope this was very interactive. Again, those who feel need more information, please feel free to contact us and set up a one-to-one session, and we'll be happy to answer those questions there. Once again, this is Nick, and you have a great day ahead. Bye-bye now. All right, one more question before we disconnect. So does the CRM integrate with QuickBooks? Yes, it is. So I can go to Finance, and as you see, the QuickBooks integration is there already. David, if you would like to receive the link for the session, we can send you that across. Please write an email to support@pulseway.com, or you can actually write it up to the product specialist that you're working with. All right, gentlemen, signing off. This is Nick. Stay tuned, and we'll connect next week, same time, same day. As soon as we have new features, we'll add in the webinar. Please be our guest. Thanks again.